Hey, what's up, guys? Snipey the Pirate Gamer here, and I've got a guest today, and we got a lot to talk about, a lot of games that have been announced, a lot of games that are on the horizon. His name is not important.
Some people know me as God, but...
Yeah, it's neither here nor there.
Man know me by many names.
So today, we're not actually gonna go into E3, so to speak, but we are... I will say I watched everything or most things from E3, and Nintendo definitely won E3 in my books. And there were some upsets, and we'll discuss those. At least I will, like Monster Hunter. but
Yeah, I mean, I think that it depends also on what you want as a gamer, and I feel like that goes into also the topic of like how systems are geared to different people or to different audiences. And in my opinion, I feel like the reason why Nintendo won is because the PS4 and the Xbox One are kind of geared to nobody, in my opinion. But
yeah,
we can talk about that at a later date.
It was a different video, but I was just overly upset with the fact that Microsoft is coming out with another version of the Xbox, and it's only marginally better than the PS4 Pro, but people are making it seem like it's the next level. Like, the next level is literally going to be whatever the next Xbox is, or the PS5. I'm glad that Sony isn't going down the same road, so to speak. Like, at least not at the same level that Microsoft's going at it. But, like, the price tag on the Xbox One X, which, that name is stupid as fuck.
What is the price tag?
It's $4.99 or $5.99. I think it's $5.99. I'm not sure.
I'll check.
Like, check it out.
No, I think it's kind of ridiculous just because we used to have console generations that were more clearly defined, and it used to be more of a matter of like choosing one.
Yeah.
For like your gaming needs, but I feel like that's changed.
Well, like I think you said this. You said this the other day. It's like they're trying to go the PC route about like incremental upgrades every couple of years so that they stay up to date with PC. And it's like you are never gonna win that battle, and consumers are gonna hate you for it. Like, I know a lot of Xbox fans that are like, they just got an S and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to buy another one.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's treading on territory that we're going to talk about later, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, I feel like it used to be that I'm not going to buy this system because it has less good graphics and I feel like I'm going to be behind. That concept doesn't really exist anymore just because everything's so fucking loose, like a napkin in a storm or something. Because it's like, once you buy a console, it's almost like phones. There's going to be a new one so soon, and honestly, I feel like gamers as a whole are kind of moving away from valuing graphics so highly, and so it's not
because we're almost peaking now. Like, I mean, yes, we're not quite at like photorealism, but we are less than, I would say, a decade, maybe 15 years at the very most from like full on photorealistic graphics. So it's you can see, especially, and this is why I like Nintendo a lot. They started to arc with the Wii, which arguably I would say that decision with power was made because the GameCube did so terribly, and they needed to make a system that would be successful and not, if it did fail, not fucking bankrupt them.
The new technology in it.
But they proved through that generation, like, that design is so important with games like Mario Galaxy, like, it blew our minds regardless of being almost 2 generations behind graphically.
And when you look at this list of games that we have here, a lot of them don't really need to look that much better. Like, the only game I could see that would really benefit from that kind of thing is Skyrim.
Skyrim, exactly.
But the issue with doing that is the games are a matter of, in my opinion, at least in my opinion, playing. It's a matter of the gameplay.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is, I think once you get into territory that we're going to very quickly, very soon, graphics no longer affect gameplay. Now, graphics used to affect gameplay.
Yeah.
If you look at the 64, the way the graphics worked, you could never have certain game types because the graphics would never allow for that.
Yeah.
And if you want a great example of that, look at the NES. You could never have had Counter-Strike for the NES. It's just not possible. The gameplay is limited by the graphics. We're going through a period now, in my opinion, where the gameplay is very rarely limited by the graphics.
Yeah.
And that's becoming less and less popular. And there's still room to go. Like, obviously, FPS and how fluidly you can move and the kind of things you can achieve are changing, but that level of creativity I'm not even seeing. So what is the point of really pushing those boundaries. And like I said before, or like I've said in the past, again, the forefront of that is always going to be things like PC and virtual reality, not the fucking Xbox.
Yeah.
In any event, I think that's a good point to kind of stop on that particular train and move into games like Skyrim. So, for me personally, having Skyrim on the Switch is only really the big of a deal just because
it's portable.
It's portable, and it shows Nintendo maybe getting some
third-party support they really need.
And third-party support for games that aren't, like, kind of moving away from the idea of Nintendo just being for children.
Yeah.
And also because the sort of the lifestyle that the Switch kind of portrays is one of, like, playing games as sort of a pastime while you're on the train or, like, after days of work on TV. I think Skyrim is a good game for that kind of a lifestyle.
Most definitely. I feel like, I mean, I don't know if it's going to end up happening, because I'm hearing now that, like, third-party developers just aren't, some of them just aren't as on board with the Switch, and they're still waiting to see how the Switch pans out. Whereas, you know, like, you know that the only way the Switch pans out truly well is either one, Nintendo, like, really starts backing it with their own games through variety that you would have seen on, like, the 3DS, or really getting third parties on board. You know, if third parties say goodbye or just aren't into the Switch, Nintendo really needs to buckle down and really produce. And the thing is they've already shown signs of that through games like ARMS, Splatoon 2, Mario Odyssey, and games like
Breath of the
Wild.
All four of which I have played and can attest to their quality. So I think...
Yeah, we actually got to go to Nintendo of New York the other day and actually play Mario Odyssey, and I gotta say, guys, it feels great. You know, like, there's a level of quality and a level of devotion to their franchises now that I'm seeing that really, you know, it's completely different than the Wii U before it. Like, we had a lot of Nintendo games, but a lot of them were mainly Mario related, or, you know, the occasional gem like Splatoon 2 was the only new IP that really mattered that came out on the Wii U. We need to see more of that. And with the Switch, I feel like that's happening. It's gonna happen. Nintendo knows that they need to really back their system, but they also need to know that third-party developers sometimes need an extra push from them because they're still kind of lacking behind in certain aspects. Though I will say that the Switch is built to be more easily developed for. So third-party developers do have that, unlike previous Nintendo consoles.
What I really hope is that mixing the teams from the 3DS and the Wii U will create a lineup big enough to create lots of sales.
Yeah.
Hopefully not just sales in Japan. I'm sure about Japanese market. For people don't know, I live in Japan, and the Japanese lifestyle is absolutely catered towards the system, or rather vice versa. Nintendo knows that. And I think Nintendo also knows that their success in Japan recently is a safe bet. And I think that's why they were willing to go with this kind of outlandish idea. But if it works out in the West, I think you'll see lots of new games be made for it, because if the system isn't that popular, it's going to be very hard for third-party developers to invest the time, because it's still going to have to be a different experience. Because at the end of the day, the Switch is a different type of experience. It's an experience meant to be able to be played in different ways. It's an experience meant for people who don't have much time to play games, or who want to be able to play games in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean that as far as, like, at home or on the go. I also mean that as far as they want the motion control, they want the different types of rumble, or they want to just play it straight up, like an old-fashioned game, or like a more traditional game.
Yeah.
And those sorts of experiences can be very unique. But the problem with them being unique is that means that a developer needs to be able to respect that uniqueness, put time into learning about that uniqueness, and make a game that suits the uniqueness. And whether or not that happens, I think will determine, at the end of the day, will the system go down in history as one of the best systems of all time?
Yeah. Like, I totally agree with Nintendo in that the system does have the potential to outsell the Wii before it, but they really, like, so many things need to line up for that to happen, and it's so easy for these things to line up if Nintendo puts in the necessary time and third parties as well. Because with the Wii U, even though people, generally speaking, looked at the Wii U like a failure, it was an amazing system, and in my opinion, I feel like the Switch is exactly what the Wii U wanted to be. I feel like third-party developers didn't, like, you look at the DS. The DS did terribly at first because third-party developers didn't know what to do with touchscreen gaming, and then Kirby's Canvas Curse came out and changed everything. From that moment on, you started seeing more inspiring games coming out, and it really did show like the catalyst of what needed to happen. That didn't happen with the 3DS, or it didn't really need to happen with the 3DS. The Wii U, it needed to happen, but it never did.
Yeah.
The Switch, there's been so many attempts at these kind of touchscreen experiences and motion control experiences, that I feel like this system can get it right. And through games like ARMS, I'm seeing it being done right. It's no longer a gimmick. It feels good. And by no means do you play ARMS in a competitive manner with the motion controls. It's just for fun. But when you when you cross over to the normal Pro controller, you find that the game still is built to run amazingly. Like, it's not like there was I always worried with games on the Wii that use motion controls, like if they did put normal controls in there, would it translate well? And this game proves that it's totally capable of having both experiences for both types of gamers, casual and hardcore. And I feel like Nintendo's finally getting back to the hardcore, which is a great thing. It's a turning point, hopefully, as long as the games keep coming. And with like Metroid Prime 4, like I'm so excited for Metroid. Like, I've been waiting years for a new Metroid first-person shooter, and the fact that this is actually on the horizon, well, maybe not on the horizon, but within the next 2-3 years, we will have Metroid Prime 4. That makes me excited. It makes me feel like they're starting to tap back into franchises that they need to have on the forefront all the time. Not so much focus on Mario or, even Zelda, like, I feel like has gotten so much more play, but obviously these are iconic franchises. I feel like Nintendo needs to do a better job of not leaving previous franchises in the past, because by doing so, they don't stand a chance of ever becoming the same kind of icons that, say, Zelda or Mario are.
Yeah, I think that being said, ARMS and Splatoon have the potential to be new great games, and Fire Emblem seems to be having a renaissance, so to speak. However, when you look at this list, those two games are great, but I feel like what's happened is we have two new IPs, and then all of the old IPs that haven't seen play for a while haven't been really showing up, and and the main three games I see on this list that I'm really interested in are Mario Odyssey, Yoshi, and Kirby, which are all kind of things we've seen a lot of recently, and also, same with Pokken Tournament, as far as being Pokemon being so oversaturated.
Yeah.
And on that note, do you want to talk a bit about Pokken Tournament?
We got to play a little bit of it at Nintendo the other day when we played Mario Odyssey, and it's beautiful. It looks a lot better than the original. It has some more characters than the original. I was a fan of the original, but it just, I don't appreciate that the game is being sold at a full retail price, same as Mario Kart. It kind of bummed me out as someone who's already bought the game and has all the DLC. That being said, if I take that off the table, it for someone who hasn't had a Wii U and had Pokken Tournament, it's a cool game to play. And I'd say with having more characters and probably a more robust online system multiplayer, it's cool, but I still feel like any new fighting game series, the first one is never the best. You really have to get onto those sequels where they start fleshing things out. I think they just tried, it was like a spaghetti approach to it.
Throwing spaghetti at the wall and thing with sticks,
there was just too much going on. Like, I like the fact that it played like Tekken, but the whole Naruto thing, like the shifting of phases, I couldn't get on board. It was like, I either want that or I want Tekken. Give me the choice to fight either way. Like, I'd be happy with that.
I mean, I feel like lots of people draw parallels to Tekken because they name Pokken.
Yeah.
But that's because Ken is like a kanji that has to do with like martial arts. And that's why it's in Tekken. That's why it's in Pokken. And yeah, I mean, it's there for some people, and
I mean, I'll still play it. I might even buy it.
Always buy Pokemon games, but I think what it comes down to is another thing that I think has more place in a conversation about the consoles themselves However, yeah, there have been a lot of re-releases, so to speak.
Yeah.
On the Switch, which are a mixed bag because some people didn't play them. I know lots of my friends have a Switch, didn't have a Wii U.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think that it makes sense to do that, because they put so much money into a lot of these games like Mario Kart that, you know, putting it on the Switch gives it a chance to actually make the money it deserved. But you can only do that with so many games. Like Mario Kart is a good example of one that can. Pokken, maybe release a virtual console version of the Wii U version for, I don't know, $30. But don't re-release it like it's this big new thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. Whereas, like, there are some games that came out for the Wii U that I would still like to see on the Switch, like Pikmin 3. Like, Pikmin is such a lovely game that I would love to have that on the go. Like, it would just be incredible. And on the Switch screen, it would look great. Especially if they bolster it up like they did Pokken and Mario Kart. Like, they look significantly better than their predecessors.
See, I see what you're saying, but I feel like the better way to go about this would be to focus on making some new games. Like that. And releasing these older games as like a pseudo virtual console type of thing.
Yeah.
Where it gets re-released, like literally re-released.
Yeah.
And it should not be $60.
Yeah. No.
And I think in general games should go down in price. I think the Western market should move more to what the Japanese market does, which, for those of you who don't know, in Japan there is no like games that cost $60. In Japan, it's almost purely based off of hype and how much money was put into making the game, that kind of thing. Now, I will say in Japan, the games are way too expensive. For instance, I believe that Street Fighter costs what would be about $64 in the US, whereas like Zelda costs $70, whereas I forget what it was, but let's say a more run-of-the-mill quote-unquote AAA title costs something like $50 or $45. That might kind of go into a matter of how much the Japanese populace are willing to pay for a game, just because of how they see products. Yeah. Which is again another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to see more diversity in prices.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to see prices go down a bit, especially because, again, you're coming back to like how games are changing and how console games, how Nintendo's trying to be different.
Yeah.
I think if you're trying to be different, you should also recognize their prices should be different to match that.
Yeah.
And I think it has to be recognized that the Switch is, at least in my opinion, 50% a handheld. So the prices, I can't really co-sign the idea of the prices being purely based off of consoles, even though I think console games are already too expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to Mario Odyssey, which was probably the most exciting thing.
Exciting, yeah, I would definitely say it is. I mean, personally, Metroid Prime 4, just the announcement, but I'm not as excited for Metroid Prime 4 because they literally showed a GIF. Like, it's just a picture.
It's not even a GIF. It's like the opening to Star Wars, but without any text and with shadier stars. And then literally a JPEG of Metroid Prime 4 with a little bit of, in Other M, I was like the purple coming out of the it's like a shitty version of that.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you look at the image, it looks like it's from the Wii era. But
yeah,
whatever. We're getting Metroid Prime 4, which is a good thing.
But yeah, when it comes to like things we're seeing, and that we've actually put our hands on, the Mario Odyssey is just fantastic. It feels great. The only thing I don't like about the game is that you don't have the belly slide. You know, I would have liked. I don't like the roll. The roll's fine. I'll get used to it, but it just seems ridiculous.
The movement is restricted. I definitely feel like if you're a hardcore speedrunning type Mario fan, you're not gonna be happy with it. But if you're that kind of person, you also probably were never gonna be playing the Mario game anyway.
Yeah. But I loved how it transitioned from like the 3D to like 2D style. Like they've got a lot of elements that come across from all Mario games.
Yeah, what he's describing is there's a part of the game where you can actually go onto the face of different surfaces, so to speak, and it becomes a 8-bit Mario game. I think the biggest thing I'm happy about is that it's creative.
Yeah, very, very
and I
creative.
haven't seen anything that creative since Galaxy.
Yeah. But even still, I'd say it's arguably more creative.
Galaxy was creative, but it was like one idea that was a really creative idea, but it was only one.
Yeah.
This game seemed much more.
With the gravity and everything.
And I almost feel like this is kind of a continuation of... It's sort of like a mixture of how Galaxy was more polished and creative and traditional styled, and how the Super Mario World was also more creative. But Super Mario World was like, it was really creative, but almost in like a that's cute kind of way. It wasn't. There weren't that many gameplay aspects. So I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
It was more like, that's really cute and interesting. But it wasn't. You weren't playing anything particularly spectacularly new.
Yeah. I would say that Yoshi's Island was arguably more creative in its level design and the things that you had to do.
And from what I've heard, I'm not a huge Donkey Kong aficionado, but from what I've heard, Tropical Freeze also had a much more creative look on how to deal with the map.
Definitely. That game was amazing. I'm also like talking about Metroid Prime 4 when they announced the handheld, the 3DS Samus Returns, like I almost lost my shit. Now, I'm a huge Super Metroid fan, and I in a way I kind of wish that Nintendo had gone with a more like robust 2D, like full-on 2D side scroller. The 3D aspect is cool, but I remember playing Castlevania on the 3DS and I enjoyed it, but I did miss those original 2D Castlevanias that were coming out on the DS. That being said, I am still looking very much forward to the 3DS Metroid, but I know that that's a whatever for you.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I just started playing Super Metroid, which I know not most people, but plenty of people listening to this right now can be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And to that I say, go play all of them other games, and then put in at least 2,000 hours in Team Fortress 2. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't, the gameplay doesn't really strike me, and the environments look cool, but I don't think it has the same ambiance that I've seen from other Metroid games. But I could be wrong. Obviously, we haven't seen that much from it, and I guess the main thing was I was kind of put off by just the optics and also the fisticuff style, some of the fighting I saw.
Yeah. It looked like they were trying to mix aspects of Other M.
Yeah.
Into Super Metroid.
What's nice about it though is that it looks a lot like those Metroid demos that we saw, tech demos we saw for the 3DS back in the day.
Oh yeah. Holy crap!
That looks like the same models.
Oh my god!
It's cool to see that finally come to fruition.
Come to fruition. Yeah.
But, yeah.
The other game that I saw and I wanted to play a little bit of was Fire Emblem Warriors, because I kind of like Dynasty Warriors, but it definitely looks better than Hyrule Warriors. That's a definite. But like they put more into the story and the way it plays out and into the combat.
And
I would definitely say.
The art.
The art style. Yeah.
It almost looks like those Smash animations for Fire Emblem.
Yeah. It makes me happy. I'll most likely get it, but it was definitely something I was least excited for. The thing I'm like most intrigued about that was shown off was Mario X Rabbids, because I was a huge Rayman Raving Rabbids fan on the Wii, and I just love the way they animate and voice the Rabbids. Like, they're just really weird and funny. And the trailer that they showed off for Mario X Rabbids looked hilarious. You know, you see Peach and she just looks, you think it's Peach, but it's not, because you can see the difference in structure. And then she turns around and like waves her hair, and it's so funny, and it's so interesting that a company like Ubisoft and Nintendo are going to be working so closely together to make this action-oriented looking game. Peach and Mario have like blasters on their arms and stuff, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna say this. I had a really crazy idea for a Mario game that involved this kind of gameplay, but it's totally different than my idea. So it's like, it don't hurt me that bad, but seeing Mega Man blasters, I was like, shit. But the game looks really fun. It looks like it'll be a good time. I'm hoping that it's like a more open world like experience, kind of like your traditional Mario game, but with more elements, maybe a lot of elements that are alien to the Mario universe. But then there's a part of me that thinks this may end up being like an action party game.
Yeah, I'm kind of, the vibe they're going for seems very Nintendo Land.
Yeah, very Nintendo Land.
And that's not a huge issue, because I like those kind of games, but
it just has to be pulled off well.
And it's not just that.
And have a replay value.
I almost feel like Metroid 4, the JPEG, was put in to tell people like you or I, and honestly most gamers nowadays,
Yeah.
like, we're not only gonna show off kids' games, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they put it there for that reason, because there's nothing there to show.
Yeah.
And I feel like these games are all kind of very Wii-esque. Let's all get together and party, which isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But it makes the system's branding kind of still stuck in that world of being for a kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like Nintendo needs to really try and diversify, because even their new IPs like ARMS and Splatoon
are more geared for an everybody kind of audience, where it's like, where's the stuff that caters to your adult?
Kind of. Like, I feel as though, like, I know they're trying to make those kind of competitive. They're like kind of putting one foot in, one foot out with Splatoon, especially.
Yeah.
Like, there is a kind of a sense they want that to be kind of an esports, but not quite, because they showed it off for like the Switch trailer, and also, I don't know if many people know about this, but they had a $1 million prize circuit in Japan last year for Splatoon.
Oh wow.
But it sounds a lot more impressive than it is, because it really was a circuit. Like, it was like a full year, and $1 million for the full year, which is not bad, but it didn't. So the esports didn't survive past that artificial sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you see lots of turns that they're putting on, and I appreciate it, but I feel like
they really have to put their all into whatever they're trying to turn into an esport. Like, even like Smash.
Yeah, maybe they should really be focused on trying to
HD
bundle that can do something sort of taken by stormers, really focused on. Maybe even pulling Capcom. I don't know about it. Capcom basically made Street Fighter 5 to be the esports Street Fighter game, and they put money into that.
Yeah.
And they their circuit now, Capcom Tour is like probably the most comprehensive and professionalized esports circuit for fighting games of all time.
Yeah.
But it's not easy games, I don't know. But I think that those games don't all need to be so kiddie.
Yeah.
One thing that really sort of bothers me about that idea of keeping everything so kiddie, it's kind of like when people tell me, well, Melee isn't for everybody. And I'm like, well, yeah, no game's for everybody. But the point is that you don't have, just because a game has a high skill doesn't mean you can't play it and
Yeah.
Everybody can play games.
Yeah.
Especially games that are made well. I mean, in my opinion, they're made well. Easy to grasp.
Yeah.
But very, very hard to master.
Yeah.
And I feel as though,
I mean, me and my friends played Melee all the time, and amongst ourselves, we thought we were badass, but you can't, not everyone can go to a tournament, and like, even if you wanted to, that means you have to devote all of your gaming time, or most of it, to training in this game, and some people just aren't willing to do that. So, like, that's why I like the idea of them remaking Melee, because there are those who will play it and enjoy it and have a good time with their friends, and there are those who will be so grateful to Nintendo for bringing it back out with more, like, with not only the graphics being revamped, but the probable possibility of DLC characters, because of, like, how many characters are in PM. Like, there's just so much room for improving on that esport. Like, it could easily resurge as an esport, even above Street Fighter, but
yeah, I think
Nintendo,
for sure.
Nintendo has to fucking
effort
put
into
that
it. It can
time.
definitely go past Street Fighter. And yeah, I feel like there's lots of nitty gritty that I get into. People don't know I have a very big background in esports, and I started in Melee, so that's a topic that I'm very close to, and I do see issues with stuff like adding characters to Melee, but to not get too hung up on that, I just feel like Nintendo should diversify the
that's the bottom line. That is like mainly they need to cater to all of their fans, because we were kids once and these games were acceptable, and we grow up and we can still play them, but we want more things, and that's why you see people jumping from Nintendo in the past to PlayStation or Xbox or PC, whatever the case may be, because their tastes change. They do still want to play these games, but they also expect you to come out with games that cater to their adult selves. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I feel like kids don't want to play games that are meant for kids.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to play games that are just games. Everyone wants to play games that are the creative freedom is completely unleashed.
Yeah.
And I've met so many kids, who are like, I'm not a kid, I want to play Call of Duty, and it's like, I'm not saying you have to make fucking Call of Duty. I'm just saying that there is no point, in my opinion, in this modern gaming era to make games with the mindset of, well, this might not go down well with the kids. Like, that's
that's
great,
BS.
That's not a great.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, what we're saying is like, I hope Metroid Prime 4 is a serious attempt at making something that is meant for more of your adult audiences without going the mature route, obviously. You know, it could have a teen rating, but having a look that screams, you know, this is us,
just
Nintendo hardcore.
Freedom like take its course. Like whatever you think, whatever the creators of that game feel like is the most realistic and fulfilled version of Metroid they can create. Is what they should be creating.
Yeah.
And it's also creating new IPs that are more in the more adult range.
Yeah.
Anyway. before we spend 20 minutes talking about that one topic.
Okay, Yoshi and Kirby. They both look amazing. They both have their own art style. But they
both look like Yoshi and Kirby.
Yeah, they both look like Yoshi and Kirby. And I mean, there are obviously little things that they do well, and the Switch's potential graphically, you can really see that the games look very polished, very nice, and I'm appreciative of it. I'm excited for them. When I first saw that they were coming out with more, I was, you know, like you, kind of mad that they were bringing out old IPs and we're not seeing, you know, even old IPs that Nintendo used to have, like Wave Race, you know, like some of the more hardcore 1080. Like, these are games I bring up a lot. F-Zero, like, when the hell was the last time we saw an F-Zero? And like, Nintendo had a really good relationship with Sega making that GX game for the GameCube. Why aren't we seeing that relationship still, you know, flourishing? You know, Nintendo has I have a game on my system called Fast Racing Remix, and it's amazing. Shinen Studios is a studio that I'm familiar with from the Game Boy Advance days. But like, why not, if you can't get Sega to do it, why not talk to them about coming out with a new F-Zero? You know, they did a great job with that game. So yeah, I just want to see more from Nintendo. Biggest upset of this whole thing is Monster Hunter on the Switch. In Japan only, most likely. But on the 3DS as well. They're being crossplay. It's very cool. I'm not sure if it's 8-player or if it's still the same 4-player. But, you know, Capcom has been making these games for Nintendo for ages, and they've been kind of running off of that similar PS2, PSP engine and just kind of improving slightly on the actual mechanics of the game. I appreciated that for the 3DS, but the fact that they have now made one for the PS4 and it's just unbelievably like it's the jump from Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past to Breath of the Wild. Like, that, it's a huge jump in terms of gameplay, in terms of aesthetic. Like, everything looks amazing about this game. I am definitely going to get it, but I am kind of sour about the fact that not once did they attempt to work with Nintendo to make a something in between, you know, what they were doing and World. Like, it's just, in my mind, it is a double cross, no pun intended.
I mean, it's sort of like when a kid doesn't want to do their homework, and they're like, and there's like 50 questions that are non-calculated and 50 calculated questions, and they come to school the next day and like, oh, I didn't do any of my homework, and they ask you why, and they go, well, I live in the ghetto and I have no calculator, but you didn't do any non-calculated questions. It's like,
yeah,
just because the power is less doesn't mean that you have to, like, you should still be trying to make the best out of what you have with that console.
Yeah.
And it's not, and they never make like a really cool like idea that works with Nintendo's console in particular.
Yeah.
And then go to the PS4 fans. Well, you don't have 3D Rumble. You know what I mean? They would never do something like that. Anyway, again, I feel like that comes down to how popular will the Switch be in the West. And if it's popular enough in the West, I feel like those things will change.
Hopefully. I am excited for Double Cross, but I definitely want World because it just looks like a better game.
So, Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces.
We're just, you know, we are huge Sonic fans. Like, we both were raised on Sonic games and have great memories of them. But, you know, you get a little bit older and you start to see that Sega's not doing all the best work with Sonic anymore. A lot of people shit on Sonic Worlds. I actually liked it. It wasn't perfect, but it did bring back some of what I like about Sonic. You know, fast-paced, interesting level design, and I'm more excited than ever because of Sonic Mania, because they're reliving some of their history. But I'm not sure about this game because Sonic, what was it called? The last one, Sonic Boom.
Oh, that one.
Oh my god! Like I haven't even played that game to see if it's actually as bad as people say, but I don't want to dish out any money for a game that looks like.
Honestly, dude, just from like the commercials, and I think it was like an anime and shit too. I was like,
yeah, just the new voices like threw me off.
Exactly.
Knuckles is like this huge, like what the hell? They ruined the design of the characters. They just turned everything upside down. Like the voice acting's terrible, the character models are terrible. Like I'm glad they're not revisiting that. I feel like they were trying to, you know how they resurged Ninja Turtles and Ninja Turtles became big?
Yeah.
I feel like they were trying to do something like that and it just did not work out.
Yeah.
Like the lanky character models. No, Sonic is always supposed to be quite tiny and just super fast. Like,
yeah, I think
Sega needs help, man. They need creative help.
I think
I'm worried about them even tackling Shenmue at this point because of the lack of creativity. Hopefully Yu Suzuki isn't going senile and can get the shit right. But anyway, go ahead.
Honestly, the game could be good, but I'm worried about the customization makes it seem very deviant arty, and also I just feel like if I wanted a Sonic game, I'm much more interested in playing Sonic Mania.
Yeah. At this point, that's all I'm really thinking about. And what also kind of pissed me off about Sonic Forces is that it looks like the Sonic that came out on the Wii, the original Sonic, the one...
06?
No.
Rings.
Was that what it was?
That was the original one, yeah, Sonic Rings.
That was the one with like the Alibaba...
That was the one, yeah, the one where you go like this.
Ugh.
By the way, when I said go like this, I'm describing sort of your hand placed forward and tilting one way or the next in a very odd way. Because it wasn't like a horizontal, you're holding the controller horizontally and tilting it, no. It was you're holding the controller vertically, but horizontally back and forth, which anyone who's held a Wii remote will tell you that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was just a very odd game. It, you know, the visuals were all right, but the gameplay was just terrible. It felt too boxy. Like you had 4 lanes, and you know rings would be in these lanes, and you'd have to like switch, and it was just garbage. And that's kind of what Forces look like. It felt like a phone game. There is a Sonic game that runs like that, and it is exactly how we just described. But like, to me, it's like there's no creativity in Sonic anymore, and there's so much room for, and this is why I get mad at Nintendo. Like, there's so much room within your franchises to come up with crazy, awesome ideas. So the fact that they're still struggling with it with Sonic just makes me upset. You know, the series could be so much bigger than it is right now, and it just seems like they're pumping them out for the sake of it because they know that little kids will buy it because they're silly and don't know any better. And they know that the nostalgic fans, most of them, will buy it, except for the ones that know better. But after a track record with what they're working with, like people are becoming less and less inclined to buy Sonic games because they're, generally speaking, crap. Like they need to stick to, I think Sonic games, honestly, personally, I think Sonic games should stick to 2D side-scrollers and just really work on, like there were some Sonic Advance games, and you could actually like grind poles like you would in like Sonic Adventure 2 and shit. It was really, really cool. But like maybe every 5 years come out with a 3D Sonic.
Yeah, bring back Sonic Adventure multiplayer.
Yeah, like that was fun. Like they just need to rework the formula. It's like Mortal Kombat. For years, those games got more and more garbage. And then what did they do? They receded back to their original roots with 9. It is exactly what the formula was before, except they improved it and took away a lot of the garbage. You know, they went back to easy fatalities. Like it's what needs to happen. And I feel like in a lot of ways with Sega, with a lot of their franchises, that's what they need to do. Anyway, I mean that's pretty much the end of this video.
Well, we can talk about Rocket League.
Oh yeah. I forgot about Rocket League. I have only played a little bit of this game on PC. You probably know more about it, but it looks fun as hell, and having it on the go, to me, just that's awesome. So yeah. you let them know.
I think Rocket League is a really good game, but I'm just happy about more of these type of games coming to the Switch. If I already have a PC and I have that game, buying it on the PS4 isn't worth much, but because the Switch can be played both at home and on the go, again, like we've been saying, that's a big plus. And Nintendo actually wants esports games. I feel like it's a good idea to just get esports games that can be played with a controller on the system. Honestly, if they want an esports presence.
For sure.
But yeah, I think it's just a good sign, and I hope that there's more games like this. But I don't think we can really survive off of these type of games, though, because Rocket League is on basically everything, right?
Yeah.
So.
I remember playing games like GoldenEye. I remember playing games like Metroid Prime 3 and the trilogy on the Wii with the motion control, like actually pointing at the screen, and it was so organic. I'm not saying it was the best. Like when I played GoldenEye, it was super competitive. It was super fun, super fast-paced, and the organic nature of aiming the Wiimote really lent itself to creating a new kind of experience beyond the joysticks, but maybe not as precise and ridiculous as a mouse and keyboard. But like, I'm not sure yet if the Joy-Cons are capable of the same things that the Wiimote was in terms of aiming at the screen. Now, I've heard that there are a couple games that kind of show off that you can with World of Goo, but I just haven't played anything that it felt that good with. So I'm hoping that at least Metroid Prime 4 may be a show of whether it can or can't, because I'm not sure yet if they're going to just do normal controls like Metroid Prime 1 and 2 on the GameCube, or if they're going to explore the idea of having motion controls like they did with the Wii. I would personally love to see it where it's both.
Yeah.
You know, where you have the option, because, you know, Lord knows, like, at the end of the day, I'm going to be playing Metroid Prime 4 with normal controls, but every once in a while, I like playing with the motion controls just because it's a little bit more precise, and it's a little bit faster, and there's just a level that you're able to achieve with it that I think is just different, and it's awesome. Well, I mean, I know Skullgirls isn't a thing anymore, really, like that, but like having fighting games like that, you know, well, like Tekken. I know Tekken 7 looks really pretty, but you could easily downscale that to be on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that, you know, it's not fucking Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that, you know? So, I don't know. Nintendo really needs to just work with third parties and try and squeeze out of them certain things. And say, get out of here to the ones who don't want to do anything proper, like Capcom. I'd even like to see, like, a new Soul Calibur resurge on the Switch. That would be crazy. And I'd also like to see what Nintendo's capability is with the Switch in terms of a fighting game, because I always find that fighting games are some of the best looking games because they're smaller games.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Hopefully, you know, it looks to me like the next year in terms of Nintendo is going to be good from their front, but I would like to see some things come out of the woodwork. Things that we haven't heard, but that are still coming. Like a new Animal Crossing for the Switch would be insane and would sell the system like crazy, especially in Japan and North America. So, you know, I hope for the best for Nintendo. You got anything else to add to this?
Only that I think this is a good start, but we're definitely in a place where it can go either way.
Either way, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, well, anyway, we will see what happens. Anyway, guys, I thank you guys for listening, for tuning in. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Hit that like button with 1,000 likes, your mother will become a billionaire.
Oh,
good luck, nerd. Kill yourself.
And if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button. You'll be notified each time. Thank you guys for watching, and take it easy. Have a great day.